Host is always Chet Porter. Joining me is Matthew Hedrick. Matt, we're doing Shatterhand this week for the NES. Let's get to it. Matt, I want to know what you thought about the graphics for this NES classic. Kind of classic.
The NES Classic, huh? We're already starting off on the good terms.
Graphics.
All right, I'm gonna go. I really enjoyed the visual presentation with this. I like the variety of the backgrounds and all of that. I feel like the stages have a nice visual presentation to them. As far as the enemy design goes, I mean, it's all right. There's enough there to change it up. The animations and stuff are a little like rough, but they're all pretty good. They're all pretty good for the most part. So I'd have to say probably a solid 4.
I'm going to concur with the 4. There was some glitching and some fading out of the images when things got a little too heavy. But overall, I like the uniqueness with like the little robot accessories that you got, and the villains were unique enough level to level that you didn't feel too inundated with the same slog. And I really like the design of the main character, who was very 90s, very late 80s, very 90s, with the sweater vest jacket. Just would, yeah. So I'm gonna give it a 4. But what did you think of the sound?
This is a case of a really good soundtrack, but no true like standout. Nothing I'm gonna be humming, anytime soon. But they're all good for the stages you're in. And as far as sound effects go, they're pretty stock, but they work well for what's going on here. I would have to say again, I'm gonna stick with the 4.
I'm gonna give it a 3. The music was fine. I wouldn't say anything about this was truly outstanding or even truly memorable or even moderately memorable. I've already forgotten most of the songs, actually all of them, let's be honest. So I'll give it a 3. It set the mood and the ambiance was good, but overall I don't think it was as good as it could have been, but it definitely isn't bad. So 3. But gameplay.
This game is surprisingly, even for it being a platformer, there is a slight a bit of strategy and depth to things, and there's a few unique aspects to it. Like I like the like almost like turret little like partner system thing they've implemented into here. I think that's really cool. I like the idea of using coins as a currency for like power ups and extra lives and stuff like that. Really makes you kind of stock up on that. Um, Always makes you think about what your next move is going to be. As for the gameplay itself, it's solid. It works really well. Um, I mean, a little bit challenging, but it's not anything too difficult to wrap your head around. So, yeah, yeah, nothing particularly bad. I think I actually like it quite a bit. So I'm gonna go with a 5 actually.
As far as the gameplay goes for me, I did find some issues with the frame rate to be a bit, bit of a slug. It's very. It bothered me, especially when the game had so much potential. The early boss fights are way too easy, and then it gets a little bit ramped up a little bit, but still not anything that I would be like, oh yeah, no, it's crazy. And I feel like that affected the gameplay a bit for me because I was really thinking that this would be like NES hard, and I really didn't think it was NES hard. So I think overall I'm going to give the gameplay a 3. I definitely thought they could have done more, but I like the ideas implemented, like the suit of armor and the turret allies and all that. I thought that was great stuff. I just thought it could have been better executed. Plus, I like the fact you can pick your stages as you will instead of having to go, level by level like it was Mario. So I thought that was pretty good. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3. Now, fun factor: how did you enjoy playing this?
Uh, oh man, this is where it gets tough. See, this is I'm not sure how you felt about this in terms of difficulty. We'll get to that, but I have a feeling that my fun factor is based on that for the most part. And I found myself struggling at times to beat certain bosses in the later aspects of the game, and some of the stages got a little cheap with the hazards and stuff like that. But I wouldn't say it's at all like nothing you can't wrap your head around if you use what the game gives you and put enough strategy behind it. You can figure it out and get past it. So I actually, despite those things, I still had a decent time with it, and I don't think I'm going to go lower than a 4.
I'm gonna give it a 3. Stick with the motif. It was certainly enjoyable. For me, I'm just never a real big fan of NES games. there's always something, be it the frame rate or the music or the character design or just the rudimentary gameplay that kind of just doesn't sit well with me. Because a lot of these games are essentially just clones of something else that came along that was innovative, like Mega Man. So I'm not going to hit it too hard. I did enjoy it, and I thought that this was a really cool game. But if I'm being honest, I'm never coming back to this game again. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this game changed my life. But what about challenge, Matthew? Did you find it too hard, too easy, or somewhere in the middle?
I think in this case, I'm going to probably stick with the middle because I think it does it just right. I think it gives you enough in the early game to have some easy boss fights, but then tries to ramp it up at a decent pace so that, the rest of the game feels challenging. So I feel like in that aspect, it is fair to a degree. Um, none of these aspects of the game you can't wrap your head around. I would say probably a average. I think I would go with average challenge here. I would say 3.
So just kind of to clarify, when it comes to the challenge scale, the higher the number, the more balanced the gameplay is. Just so anyone who's new, like, well, how do you determine that? So if it's pretty balanced, we give it a 5. If it's moderately balanced, 3, and if it's poorly balanced, it's a 1. I think that it was a little kind of all over the place. I thought the levels, because I didn't play as long as you did with this. Obviously, I got I think 3 levels in. I think you probably beat the game. For me, the
about
levels,
5.
You got 5. I didn't realize there's not more than 5. So, the levels to me didn't feel all that hard at times, but there were some hazards that I thought were pretty dumb. But there were also some hazards I thought were pretty cool. Like on the screen right now, you saw the 0G or the inverse level where you're upside down. Like that was pretty cool. But the bosses to me never really felt like much of a challenge. They're pretty pattern heavy, so it's like really basic. So I'm gonna stick with a 3 as well. I don't think the game was punishing, but I also don't feel like the game at times challenged you enough, especially with the boss battles, man. Like I was really, because they were cool bosses, and I really was let down by the 3 that I played. So there's that. Overall score, we're gonna give it a. Let's see, that's a 4. It's a 3.5. It's a 4. That's a 3.5. Buttons and a 3. That gives us an 18 out of 25. That's a 72. And for an NES game, that's pretty high for us. We're generally not big NES guys, so there's that. We're going to be recording our podcast here on the Twitch channel, so if you're listening to this live, twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp. I intend on changing that name this weekend, so just pay attention to the new one, guys. But for Matthew Hedrick, I'm Chad Porto. RealNerdCorp.com, RealNerdCorp.com. Check it out. Matt, say goodnight.
Good night.